Hello, hello to everybody out there in creative land. This is Ron. I'm Ron. Oh my God.
You
Wow, I
dead
never
named
say that.
yourself.
I take that back. This is Maddox. I can't believe that I did that. That is so weird. Yes, you know me as Maddox. This is Dwight, my co-host. We're here for another episode of For the Love of Creatives, and today our guest is Breck. Breck, I should know this. Help me out.
Breck
Breck.
White.
Breck White.
Yes,
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 yes. Okay.
yes. Thank
I
you.
get I get a little leeway. I'm a senior citizen. I get a little leeway.
No worries. Yes, Breck White.
Welcome to the
Oh, welcome.
podcast, Breck. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and bringing me on to speak with you guys this morning. I'm so excited to talk about this subject that is such a passion for me and my life.
I want to tell our listeners that the way we know Breck, and we really don't know Breck,
Yeah.
but we were at a wedding of close
Mhm.
friends about a month ago, 2 month and 2 days ago. And Breck was a guest at the wedding, and we met her. And we're always scouting for interesting and wonderful creatives and people. And so we met Breck, and she told us a little bit our story. We loved what little we heard. We can't wait to hear more. And here we are. So we really don't know much more than you guys that are listening. So we're going to hear some of this for the first time as well. So Breck, tell our listeners a little bit, 1 to 2 minutes, who you are and what you're about, and then we'll get into the weeds.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Thank you, Maddox and Dwight. My name's Breck White, and I recently, a year ago, started a business called Love Chimes, and that is what sparked Maddox and Dwight while we were talking. It was actually their necklaces that caught my eye, and I asked them about it, and we just hit it off from there. I started a business where I cherish learning about people's lives that have passed, and I love wind chimes, and I love the frequency of love. And so I decided to put it all together and create one of a kind custom art pieces that emit the frequency of love. Mhm.
It's such beautiful work. And I can't tell you just how taken I am with your story it couldn't be more timely for me. I know as someone who has had to deal with grief that
Mhm.
it changes who we are. And I love the way that you put it. You said something to the effect that it's one of those things that doesn't, love is something that doesn't die, it just changes.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so spot on.
Yeah, it came, the story starts, and the history of it is I had a dear friend of mine that passed whenever I was 14 years old. She was my best friend, and unfortunately, it was a tragic thing. And she was buried under a tree. And whenever I would go out and visit her grave, we would take wind chimes. So whenever I would go out there, there would be many, many wind chimes under, just everybody would bring a different wind chime, and it was beautiful. And I would sit at her grave, and I would just sit under the tree, and I would listen to all the wind chimes. And so ever since that story, I actually would create people and give people who had people in their lives that had passed a wind chime, and I would maybe put a name or a date or something on it. You can buy wind chimes, anywhere, and put names and dates on them. And my mom's best friend just recently passed a few years ago, and I wanted to make her something very, very special. I wanted something custom for her and her best friend's life story visualized in a wind chime. And I searched and searched and searched, and I couldn't find it. So I said, well, looks like I have to do it because it's not out there.
And how could we have known that it would have sparked a way that you can allow for so many others to get something that's a one of one piece?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's infused with something that's deeply personal to them, and they actually get a piece of you as well.
They do. They get a piece of me. I feel so blessed to honestly hear the stories of the lives of people that I get to talk to them about. It. it opens up my heart. I get to hear stories of people's moms and dads and friends, and it's so I am so grateful that I get to hear people tell me about the people that they love and the connections that they made during their lives. And then I just get to take a story and use my creative abilities and go, this is what I would create if I was to create a memorial in the of that person, your connection in their life. We also do work with ashes. If anybody would like us to build in ashes, we can build the actual essence of the person or pet into the wind chime. So that's something else that we do.
You know, you've added such a magical touch to something that was already magical. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lifelong love of chimes of some
Yeah.
sort. There was a time in my life where every time I went out of town, traveled anywhere, I would seek out and find a wind chime from the destination that I was in and bring it back. And I had quite a collection. And then at one point in life, I didn't have any place to put that collection, and I let them all go.
Ah,
And I wish I hadn't done that, but you know,
mhm,
it's hindsight. I now have three wind chimes, and they're not connected to anything, any
mhm,
experience or any location or place that I visited. I just discovered them and thought they were unique. There was something about them that mostly the sound that was very unique. And there's a set of three that hang out on our balcony, and there's kind of a soprano, an alto, and a mezzo. And so they're different ranges and different sizes, and they sing all the time, and you can hear them
mhm,
no matter where you are in the house, and they just bring so much. Even though those aren't associated with somebody that I love, they still bring love into it's music, you know?
mhm.
It just
Yeah.
it brings and because it's not something that's ever the same twice, it's magical.
It
Yeah.
is magical.
I would say you're kind of holding the cards close to the chest because I'd say that there is kind of a love story with those chimes because the very first of them was actually nearly destroyed by a storm. It was broken and went into the dirt, and we thought that there was no saving them, but we sent them off to get repaired, and it took a while for them to come back, and I went and actually got I don't know if it was the tinklers or the next size up.
It was the
I
Tinklers. You got me the Sopranos for Christmas a couple of years ago.
Yes, because you love those chimes so much. And so I didn't want you to be without them. And the way that we put things off, no chimes were up for over 2 years, I would say. But when you decided that you wanted to have them there, you got the ones that I gave you, the ones that were repaired, and a whole new set. And so now those chimes are the soundtrack to all the memories we're making.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, it is. It is something about, what those sounds of those chimes bring up into your memory. It really is. Um, Emotions, we all know that emotions bring up our memories. Every time I hear a chime, my mom has a chime, not that I made, but the one that sparked Love Chimes. Because I couldn't find somebody to make me a custom one, I ended up getting one where you could just put the name and date, and she hung it on the back porch, and the her grandson goes out there and just rings it and goes, "Hi, Mel," and he rings it, and it is like and my mom, that was her best friend, and it brings her joy just to even let the grandson know that he knew Mel, and he associates that wind chime with the spirit of Mel and her watching over them. Yeah,
And such a beautiful way for them to stay connected. I
it
mean,
is.
that
So
that love connection is so strong that it transcends just the things that we can see and hear and touch in the here and now.
Hmm.
Breck, I'd like to hear a little bit of origin story. Tell us about the very beginning, not the chimes, way before the chimes, the very beginning when you first discovered that you were drawn to create whatever. And
Hmm.
how old were you? How did you discover it? What did you discover? What was that first form of creativity that grabbed you and you knew that you had to be
A
making something?
creator. Yeah, that's a great question, Maddox. Thank you. I've been remodeling since I was a little girl. I can tear down a wall, I can paint something, my creativity has always been within designing bathrooms, putting whole designs together, rearranging walls, rearranging electrical, plumbing. Like I just visualize it in my head and I can see where it's going to go. And then I make it happen. So it's a large scale of creativity that I can design it in my head and then also do it with my hands. Thank you to my grandpa because he taught me and my mom everything I know about remodeling. That's really where my creativity comes from, and you can see the backs of my walls here. My office is all colors. It's I paint colors in my house. I paint things to be unusual, and that's where really my creativity comes from. Whenever I was a little girl, I think that you kind of lose your creativity a little bit because you have to go to school and you have to be productive and you got to go and make money. And, I did all of that. And my self trust and my creativity didn't come back until later on in life. And I've been on a journey of trusting my instinct and having trust in myself and trust in that creativity. I don't think if I hadn't have been on that journey that I ever would have just gone, I think I can make a wind chime and and trust myself to go, you know what, I can make a wind chime, because wind chimes, they are a little bit more complicated than people may think. We actually talked to, when I say we, I see me and my sister. We talked to a wind chime engineer. And I didn't know him from anybody. And I looked on the internet and his name's Lee. And I said, if Lee responds back to my email that he will get on a Zoom call with us and talk to me about making the wind chimes the frequency of love 528, I said, that is a sign that we have to do this because, I'm scared. I'm fearful. I've never done that before. I've never started a business. I just had an idea and said, this is what I want to do. And um, Lee got on a call with us. He was in Seattle. He said, heck yeah, I'll get on a call with you. He talked to us for hours about wind chime engineering, the materials, the sound that they make, the thickness of the walls, how long that you cut them. That's where we started. And I said, I can't believe I just emailed a random stranger and he got on a call with me and sat and talked to me about wind chime engineering. This is obviously the universe that's telling me I need to go down this path.
Breck, that actually says a lot about you.
Mhm.
Energetically, we put things out into the universe even when we don't realize we are. And there is an energy it emits from you that anybody else might have called to him and he wouldn't have responded at all.
Mm.
There was something in, I don't know whether you sent him an email or left him a voicemail or how you
Mhm.
did that, but there was some energetic thing in the message that you sent that prompted him to respond.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very thankful for him to give me the knowledge and confidence to take that first step and taking the first step. And then you just continue to keep taking steps. The second step was ordering a CNC machine. And if you guys are familiar with CNC machines, they're these large routers that you hook your computer up to, and they, will create designs and cut things into wood. And that was our first step. As I said, I think I'm just going to do it. And I ordered a CNC machine. Me and my sister sat it up in the garage one day and I said, well, let's figure out how to use this thing. And there was a lot of tears. There was a lot of tears. I thought that I was so like mechanical and it can't be that hard, you know. Oh man. I mean, we have a wall of shame of the many, many disasters that happened in learning how to use a CNC machine. So when I say CNC machine, a CNC machine cuts out the circle and then we have bits that put our logo into a piece of wood, you know. And so you put a piece of wood out there and it does that cuts the circle and does all of this for you. And we had to learn how to do that. Yeah.
You
That's
know,
amazing.
I think you need to call that wall something else. There's something
But not the
magical
wall of
about that.
shame.
No. Well,
Mm-mm.
think about it like
A
this. I
wall of
mean,
wonder.
yeah, it's documenting progress.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many who would have given up because it wasn't just absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Then they would have
That,
taken that as the sign that,
yes.
oh, well, I gotta fold up and just go get a bag of Cheetos and sit on the
Yes.
couch and watch Netflix because this isn't happening.
I'm with
Mm-hmm.
Dwight. That wall represents progress, but it also represents courage and determination and a myriad of more things. If you sat for a moment
Mm-hmm.
and pondered what else does that wall represent, you would come up with a list
Yeah,
of
Mm-hmm.
things that
it's
perseverance and the adjectives go on.
well, and it's also a part of the education. It's something that allowed you to build character. You
Yeah.
know exactly what not to do because you've had the lived experience.
Yes. Yes. We learned a lot of what not to do. And a lot of time. And I'm so grateful for my sister. I just gave her an idea and I said, you want to do this? You want to learn this? And she said, absolutely, I do. And I used to have a story in my life that I would tell that people didn't support me, and that I've been able to change that story in my life. I have really great people who believe in me and support me, and what gratitude I have for that. Mm-hmm.
I think it's the wall of appreciation. I mean, if you
Yeah.
stop and think about it for a minute, if you had set that machine up and it just did it on the first try, you wouldn't have nearly the appreciation that you have for the complexity and challenge and difficulty of that, except for you look at that wall and that wall represents that yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that appreciation that wow, look how far we came from that first try
Mm-hmm.
to now.
Yeah, I think I see a content set up for your next story on Instagram for sure.
That's true. I should turn it around to the perseverance because it did. It took a lot. We have a lot of learning pieces of this before to get here. There was a lot of learning. You know, there's such detail that goes into everything you do that you just wouldn't think about. And I naively went into opening a business that I honestly didn't know a whole lot about. So I always wondered why people didn't do what I do. I know now why people don't do what I do because you need a machine for your wood and your CNC if you actually want to not cut it out by hand and sand it and do it all by hand. And then you need a laser. And not only do you need a CO2 laser, but you need a fiber laser because a CO2 laser only does certain materials, and then your fiber laser only does certain materials. So then you have to learn how to do a CO2 laser, then you have to learn how to do a fiber laser, and then we coat ours with a total boat epoxy. So the epoxy that is put on the sides of boats, we want to make sure that our wind chimes are solid, going to hold up in weather. What better than a boat? I mean, boats kind of out there getting beat up. So we coat ours with epoxy. We do a lot of epoxy work, and anybody who works with epoxy can appreciate how finicky epoxy is. So we have learned a lot about all the materials that we work with, and every day we learn, and it's challenging and rewarding at the same time.
I think
Yeah,
you've got
we
it. I think the music industry has the Hall of Fame. I think you need to have the Wall of Fame.
Yes, the Wall of Fame. There you go. I should count them up. I'm going to count them up one day. I have a box somewhere, a few boxes, and I'll count them up and see how much my learning has come.
Well, and you are constantly searching out new processes to do
Yes.
original and things. So the
Hmm.
wall of fame will continue to grow. There's
Yes.
always going to be those first tries. Otherwise, it gets redundant, repetitive, and boring.
well, and so those are fails, but you hear that and you think, oh my gosh, that sounds
Hmm.
awful. But those are fails in the best sense, your first attempts in learning.
They are. Yeah. We just recently, have started doing the reason why we had to get the fiber laser was because we can write words or things on the metal chimes now, and you need a specific laser, so you have to, test everything to make it sure it comes out the right way. And if you want to add color, that's a whole different process. There's multiple different things. And then writing words on the actual outside of the chimes, we had to create a jig and figure out how to get it in the laser and how we would hold it and how we could get it exactly lined up. And there's a lot of creativity that comes in. Okay, I want to do this. How do I do this? Because nobody out there is telling me how to create a jig to hold a wind chime topper to the side so that the laser will laser the side of it and be straight.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and further, I think that because of what you're doing, a lot of people, well, you're sharing that there's a lot that goes into this. So
Mm-hmm.
anyone that would be so inclined might actually hear, oh, there's quite an implementation gap. They need to reach out to Breck and Crystal.
Yeah.
Breck,
Yes.
have you ever considered or do you do process reels where you actually share not the entire process, you don't want to give
Yeah.
away all of your secrets, but just bits and pieces here. I could see where you could do a reel once a week that was just like the reel would be about here was our very first try. Here
Yeah.
was this was number one on the Wall of Fame, and what went wrong and what you learned. I think people would find that fascinating.
I have done a few things. Um, it took me a minute to be comfortable with being on social media with the confidence and the talking about knowing what I know. Um, it took me a minute to actually tell people I build wind chimes and I have a business. Like, even just saying that took me a minute to have the confidence to not go, oh man, we're still just a hobby or we're still just somebody figuring it out. Now I have the confidence to go, we're some pretty damn good wind chime builders, and these things are amazing. And so it took me a minute to be okay. So I'm getting there, Maddox, to be comfortable with sharing in being a wind chime expert. Have I embodied it fully just yet? Still takes me a little bit of time.
This is our perfect segue because what you're talking about right now is becoming. And so
Yes.
my next big question is, you know, when you started this process and realized all that was involved and all you were going to have to figure out and learn, who did you have to become
Mm-hmm.
to go from point A to point B? Because you're now in at some level of expert.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be more level, higher level of expert down the road, but even right now, you have gotten to the point where you can talk knowledgeably. You
Mm-hmm.
know more than 98% of people in the room.
Yeah.
So who did you have to become to get there?
I would say that starting Love Chimes and starting a business just from a feeling and a peace in my heart, and just going, I think this is something that I want to put in the world and be a piece of me, and of something I can be proud of, and something that I can back and continue to emit love into the world of my passion of remembering people and their stories. Um, I had to trust myself, and that's been a lifelong journey. I had to be the person who trusted herself, trusted her intuition, trusted her ability, and said, you know what? If I was lying on my deathbed, I would be sad if I didn't do this and explore this, because it continues to keep just picking at me. Like, I would go do breath work. I don't know if you guys are familiar with breath work, or I love 90 breath work. I was in a 90 breathwork session, and I could only think and picture this business and what I would do and how I would do it and promote it and what I would have. I mean, it just was all just came to me in like this,
A
vision. And I
download.
was like, I have to do it. This is so strong. So I think I really had to put my lifelong journey of trusting myself and trusting my intuition into one idea and go, okay, Breck, like, put up or shut up. You really trust in yourself? You really think, that inside of you? Then here's where you put the what is it, the metal to the pedal or whatever, the rubber to the
Yes.
road.
Yes. Okay. So trusting yourself came first. And when you got to that point, you said, yes, I can do that. I can trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
What was the next step of becoming?
I think that next step of becoming that person is to be able to have such a passion and confidence to talk to people who think that it's silly. Well, why would you do that? Why would you? There's already wind chimes. You can already go buy a wind chime. You can already do this. And it's just a hobby for you guys. You guys don't actually do anything that's not a hobby or whatever. And I'm like, you know, it this is special, and people want this. I know they do. I am my own customer, and we have not done any marketing since we've started, and it's just word of mouth. And we create a lot of wind chimes just via word of mouth, whether it's memorial wind chimes. We've had people, the wedding we met at, I made them a wind chime and made them a wedding wind chime, which was actually the story of their love life. Of course, it had dancing on it. Yes, and that was their wedding gift. I think that when you truly give somebody something that had so much thought in it and a story, it tells a story, and somebody loved you enough to tell your story. And that's what I had to believe in. And I had to believe that other people in this world also cared about that as much as I did. And that's what you have to become. You have to fight all the words of people who are like, nobody's going to care about that. Like, it's just a wind chime. Nobody's going to pay that much for a wind chime. Nobody cares. And I'm just like, I do. And I think other people do.
Yeah.
They definitely do. The company where I bought my wind chimes in, they're not custom.
Yeah.
They're just pre-manufactured. They are quite expensive.
Yeah.
They are, in all of my travels and all of my seeing wind chimes now, I've never seen custom ones like you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
but these are the Rolls Royce
Yeah.
of wind chimes. Like, um, and they're quite expensive, and
Mm-hmm.
people pay that for them. There is a outdoor shop here in Dallas that carries them. In fact, there's several places that carry them, and they
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't carry them if they didn't sell.
Yes, that's right.
You know,
That's right.
Yeah.
yes, I completely agree with you. People do care about this. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I jumped through hoops to travel to get fragile wind chimes that were made out of ceramic and glass and things like
Mm-hmm.
that home safely when I was collecting. Um, my whole back patio was covered with wind chimes until a
Yeah.
neighbor, complained to the management company, and they made me pull them all down.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, I have found that people do care and people do enjoy mm, creating really one of a kind things that bring people such joy.
I had lunch
Well,
with Carla yesterday, and that's so the listeners know that's the bride of the bride and groom we're talking about, the wedding she made the wind chime for. I had lunch with
Mhm.
her yesterday, and she said, I cannot wait until we can have a place of our own that has an outdoor space so I can hang my chime.
Yeah.
well, so if we, I'm pretty sure that at some point we'll have Carla on, but
Mhm.
for our listeners, the groom was featured in episode 6 of the podcast.
Yes, I'm already. That came to me this morning. That's interesting that you say that, Dwight. I was thinking about her this morning and I thought, yep, I'm going to ask her to be on the podcast. I don't know why I haven't thus far, but yes, definitely.
Yeah, and it's such an interesting story about how Carla and I met in Guatemala. I mean, I meet so many people traveling and and we would hit it off and she would happen to have a wedding and I would be like, heck yeah, I'm gonna be there, girl. I got you. And what a beautiful thing to connect with people all over the world and continue to make those connections and see where those connections go.
Yes, yes,
It's so
we
wonderful.
we've experienced quite a bit of that. So many of our guests are from, well, we've had guests from all over the world,
Hmm.
and our listeners are definitely all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's surprising to me that we can see evidence of people downloading this in places that are known war zones right now. But
Wow.
um, I want to touch on what you were saying about the kinds of things that you would hear, or I mean, you hinted that people would say things like, "Oh, that's just a hobby," but
Hmm.
I have to wonder, well, how much of that was things that you actually heard, and how much of that were things that you just had on board?
Things in your
No,
head, I think, is what he's
no, it was
referring
people that
Yeah.
to.
told me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very straightforward of um, everybody had their opinion and everybody offers an opinion of whether they believe that what you're doing is going to be, and I can't tell you how many times people said nobody's going to pay that. And I'm like, well, if they don't, that's okay. I said I would. And I
Yeah.
am my own customer, and that's who I'm building this for is my passion and my love. And I am building it because I couldn't find somebody who did this. I wanted a product like this, and I searched high and low for somebody to create me a custom one chime, and it couldn't be done. And I said, so if I want that, I can't imagine that somebody else wouldn't. And so you do, and you have to, me and my sister laugh all the time because she'll be like, and I'll say, well, you're not our customer, Crystal, because she'll say something to me and I'll say, well, you're not our customer. And I said that because we built this based on, me. So, and people that I knew that loved it. And, my mom has purchased wind chimes for people that have passed in her family. It's kind of a family thing now. We all have very custom wind chimes for people in our family. I've made anniversary ones, and um, the feedback that I get is keeps me going because I do
Yeah.
get sometimes discouraged. I work a 9 to 5. It's not like, I have an executive job and I have a demanding executive job and I build wind chimes afterwards. And it's because it's my love and my passion. And so when I hear the feedback, I sometimes am like, wow, I am spent, and then I hear somebody say, I have an artist friend of mine who actually painted my favorite art, and we did an exchange. We've never actually met, but she's up in Oregon, and her dad passed, and she said, let's do an exchange. And she exchanged an art, and I built her a wind chime. She said, "This is my absolute most cherished thing that I own," and it we put his ashes in the striker, which is the middle piece that hits all the chimes. And he was a universe lover. So I actually created an epoxy art of the universe and put his ashes in the Milky Way of a thing so that he would be in the universe, for all of time. So it's just so magical to take the stories of them, create an art piece, and then how much people love them as much as I do, as much love as me and my sister put into these. They love them too, and every time they ring, that person's love is felt in the world. And you know what? If I am lying on my deathbed and I know that I spread love into the world and kept people's message going, and I envision sometimes like these wind chimes just, ringing in the world and emitting the frequency of love. And that fills my soul that I'm putting music into the world that is love.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I I love that you have been able to own that there are people that won't go for what it is that you
Mhm.
are putting out there. And they're not, you said they're not your customer, but I think that there's something to be said for not just trying to appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
it's important to build a community of enthusiasts that are going to have the same love, the same passion for what it is that
Yes.
you're doing. And I think as long as you're creating for you, those it's going to send up a light to attract the right people, and they will come.
Yeah.
yes, and I have the perfect response for the naysayers.
What is it?
Thank you for your support.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Just
I hear a
smile and
little.
say thank you for your support and then turn and
Yeah,
walk away.
that's true. You know what? Maybe I'll make them a wind chime. Maybe that like, kill them with kindness. So I'll just make you a wind chime. You can have one. If you don't believe that, I'll just give you one and you can have one for free. So yeah.
I think you're really onto something. So what's the goal? Okay, you talked about this big executive job. Is is it really this the way you want it to be long term, or is there a point where you would love to leave the executive job and do full-time wind chimes? Because
I mean, that's my
that's not for
passion.
everybody, you know?
Yeah, that's my passion is, wind chimes. Now, what piece of it, that is everybody has their strengths. If we I think we right now have determined with just me and my sister doing it, we have a max of how many we'll make a month. So that's something because we give each person a lot of attention. It's not just the process of making the wind chime. I get on a call with every single person. Most of the times I'm on a call with them for an hour because when you're talking about a loved one and you're talking about something that is so near and dear to your heart, I'm not only taking a wind chime order, I'm listening to somebody's story and somebody's grief. And I take that very, very seriously. And so we put a lot of time and attention into it. So it's a hard to say, Maddox, whether that's going to happen or not. Um, it depends on how many people out there love chimes and want to build something that is very unique and custom. um, Going back to the different strengths that people have, I do all the talking to people and the communicating with all the customers. My sister kind of works behind the scenes. She's not a big like she won't get on social media or anything. She really likes the hands-on building piece of it, which we do jointly together. So it depends on time. If I'm going to be talking to a lot of people and doing that thing, that would determine too.
Well,
Yeah.
at some point there'll be an opportunity to look at how you could scale this,
Right.
you know, and there's people out there that teach and train that. So
Absolutely.
it's about bringing more people on and
Yeah,
creating systems that
that's right.
support you and the team. And um, I just got to say that there's not a doubt in my mind after I have seen you do what you have done that you can figure the scaling thing out.
Yeah,
Not a
that
doubt in my
my
mind.
corporate job does give me the background to figure out how to do that. So that is one benefit that that does. So,
You
um,
know, I discovered at one point in my life that every experience that I've had throughout my
mhm,
life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, has been all about preparing me for who I am and where I am right now.
absolutely. I'm grateful for
There
that
wasn't
every day.
any of it that was wasted.
That's right.
Even the most
Yeah.
painful experiences, you know,
Well, it's
the traumas. There was this point where I finally realized, wow, I came to this place of gratitude because I wouldn't be who I am if I hadn't
Yes.
lived through that experience. I wouldn't wish it on my biggest enemy. I wouldn't want to live through it again, but I also wouldn't trade for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, just Love Chimes in itself kind of is a story of that. Unfortunately, my best friend passed when I was 14, but look what her spirit carries on. I mean,
Yes.
it is a tragedy and it was a very difficult time in my life, but it also made me who I am today. And it did spark a lot of passion and creativity in my life. Yeah.
Breck, tell us a little bit about how community plays a role in your process.
Yeah. So community is big. We make custom pieces for, weddings and anniversaries and memorials. And, whenever somebody passes, there's a community that's surrounding you. And that community is your people that love you, the people that loved that person, the people that support you. And to be able to provide joy and a remembrance and a gift to, say, family members. So one of my experiences is when somebody passes, of course, it's hard for the family, and we get to provide a joyful moment to the family and the community that supports them with a very tangible item. And I think a lot of I I really pride myself on our unique one of a kind. You're never going to find anything. It's made. Everything is our imagination. Everything's our creativity. And I think that providing that to sometimes a family, which I consider a community, or friends, they all get to joy. And it usually sparks some sort of joyful conversation with the community. It sparks some sort of um, connection and community just by that one tangible item.
I love that. So what I'm hearing is that you're talking about the community that comes together for the people who have had the loss.
Mm-hmm.
And that's amazing in and of itself,
Yes.
absolutely amazing. But move over a little bit and tell me about the other side, which is the community that supports Breck.
Yeah. That that's a story that I had for a long time. So I've been working recently on the stories I tell myself. This is I'm reading the book or listening to the book, The Power That It or Loving What Is. And it's all about, I don't know if anybody's read it, but it's all about the stories that we tell ourselves and then the stories we tell ourselves that we believe, right? And they're really good stories. Sometimes I can sit and tell myself a real good story. And I'm like, you are so right, Breck. That's a great story and we're going with it. And then, when I take a step back and really look at it, I'm like, is that really? So I have, been on my own for quite some time. So I've had this story for a long time that I don't have any support and I have to do it all myself. And I love that you asked this because I just recently had to be very vulnerable in a women's circle that I was in, and I had to let go of this story, Maddox. And I openly said to them, guys, I've had a really big opportunity to stop telling myself this story that I don't have any support. And I sat and I named every single person in my life that has supported me and thanked them, whether it was in just the smallest way. And it is so something that you might miss in life if you really don't sit and think about the people that believe in you and that cherish you and support you and spend time with you. And my mom, she will come over and she'll, um, we shine up, we get the metal and it's like crap when you get it from the metal store, and we have to clean it and shine it and, do all this stuff for it. And she'll come over on her days off and she'll sit in the garage with me and my sister and she'll shine wind chimes. And at one time we got the call it on our CNC was messed up, and my sister's husband is a mechanic and he came over and rethreaded the collet on, and it's just the support is it's unbelievable that and the friends that tell people that my friends that do believe in me and they'll get business for me. My friend's a hairdresser and she'll say, oh my gosh, my friend Breck, she makes these wind chimes and I'll get business from it just by my friends believing in me. And that's something really cool to think about, that my friends believe in me and tell people about my business and support me. Yeah.
That's
You know,
beautiful.
I want to speak to for just a moment about the stories that we tell ourselves, because this is something I've studied. I've certainly coached people through this, and my theory is that stories that we tell ourselves are nothing more than fantasies. And I've worked with women most of my life, so this will make sense. But I would ask a client, um, think about your fantasies for a minute. Think about your sexual fantasies.
Yeah.
You know, when you have sexual fantasies, do you ever lose in those fantasies?
No.
Do you pick an ugly dude? I mean, do you pick somebody that is terrible in the lovemaking department?
No.
When we have sexual fantasies, we win in our sexual fantasies. Why is it that we create fantasies that away from the sexual world where we lose?
Yeah. It's so
Doesn't
true.
make any sense, yet we do it.
It's so true. I love that analogy, Maddox. I absolutely love that. And thank you for sharing that.
I think that it
Uh,
makes it memorable because we still live in a world where we say the word sex and people go like this. And so it makes it
Yeah.
more memorable, but it also does really, I mean, we're not ever asking everybody to admit that they have sexual fantasies, even though we know they all do.
Hmm.
But it's
well, it's
true.
only part of being human.
It's part
Yeah.
of being human.
I just want to give some relief to any of our listeners that are clutching their pearls and circle back to how you made mention of how this great appreciation of the community that surrounds you was sparked by reading Loving What Is. And I'm assuming that's from Byron Katie.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It really does. It really makes you take a look at some of the stories you tell yourself. Yep. It's a great book. It's like you're always going, is that true? I don't know. I made that statement, but probably not true.
You know, support from others has a lot to do with our ability to ask, our ability to let
Yes.
somebody know that we need support. We kind of don't get supported, and we kind of expect people to read our minds.
Hmm.
They don't know we need support unless we say, I need support. Will you
Yeah.
support me in some shape, form, or fashion?
And
Um,
sometimes we got to be specific.
Very specific. It's not enough to say, I just need support. What I need in the way of support looks like this. You
Hmm.
know, um, all of my life, my dad, he's departed now, but my dad would say, those that don't ask don't get.
Yeah.
Just because you ask doesn't mean you'll get it, but if you don't ask, you're guaranteed to not get it.
Yeah.
That's right.
You
Yeah,
know,
no,
taking that, Maddox, and circling back to who you had to become, you have to be able to hear no and be okay with it and move on. And you have to be able to be a person in life who can ask and hear no or hear the naysayers and still continue to keep moving.
To be more specific, you had to become a person who would hear nobody's going to pay that for wind chimes, and this isn't a real job,
Hmm.
and to go ahead and walk away and do it anyway. You had to
Hmm.
become a person that didn't give any oxygen to
Right.
that notion.
Right. Hmm. Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
You
it's
know, you are quite the inspiration. I got to
Thank
tell you
you.
that you are quite the inspiration.
Thank you.
right.
Um, I'm a lifetime learner, whether it's about myself or about building businesses. And I love sharing and I love meeting people and I love connections. And I hope that I can do this and hear about people and connections and love for the rest of my life. It's what drives me every morning and makes me grateful for life. You know, how exciting to wake up and be like, what am I going to get to hear today? Who am I going to get to talk to today? I mean, it's so amazing.
It is. I agree completely. So we've got a few minutes left yet, and I have,
Yeah.
one more thing I want to cover before we go, and that is I kind of want to know presently, as you do, what you love, what is the most challenging aspect of that specifically? What challenges you most with Love Chimes?
So what challenges me most with Love Chimes is probably the social media. That's a big challenge. I know that it needs to be done, and I am on board with it, and have to continue to do it. I think that challenging also is balancing my work, my love, my kids, my travel. I mean, there's multiple things in my life that I have to balance to continue to do all the passions that I love. Um, and the answer is not to have less passions. I want all of them and I want more. And I want to have every passion that there is and chase it and somehow balance it all.
Well, based on what you're telling me, you are a master at balancing.
Yeah,
Based
yeah,
on
well,
everything we've heard, the travel that you're doing, wow, um, so this challenge of social media, you need to do it, but I can kind of hear a little bit of dread in your voice. So let's circle back one more time to the
Hmm.
whole becoming thing,
Yeah.
and let's look for a moment, and you tell us who you think you need to become to be that person who is a sensation on social media at promoting her business.
What I need to believe internally with myself is that my authenticity will bring the the audience. And if I'm just myself, messy hair, no makeup, whatever, talking about love chimes and just my passion, people are out there and they want to hear it. And if I can believe that story about myself and become that story, then I probably wouldn't have probably wouldn't have a social media adversity.
well,
I'm going to take a little bit of a shot here and say that I think that you quite possibly need to become a person who absolutely loves being on social media.
Yes, that's right.
He loves being on. I've watched this in action. When we met, he did not have any public,
Hmm.
no social media, no, he's a
I
very private
I had
person.
no digital footprint.
No
Wow.
digital footprint, period. You could Google him and nothing came up. And now we are on how many social media channels, Dwight?
Well, we post daily on 12.
Wow.
Daily on 12. So in a given week, what's the average of videos that you record, either live or pre-recorded?
Well, given what I just said, in a typical week, we're going to have about 100 pieces of video content that are going to go out.
And does he love that, Dwight?
It's a labor of love. It
Yeah.
is it is something, it is an art in itself, and
Hmm.
it's amazing.
Does it take a lot? Yes, but he thrives doing this. And it wasn't
Wow.
that way, but he made that choice.
Hmm.
You know, becoming is choosing. We get to become anybody we want to become. And it's all about making the choice.
Absolutely. And Dwight, you're my hero. So I'm going to have the inspiration of Dwight. Every morning I wake up, I'm like, what would Dwight do today? He would post, he would make a video and he would post, even if you didn't feel like it. And I'm going to have some inspiration for that.
Breck, do you do pre-recordeds or lives?
I'm going to be a little vulnerable right here. I don't know how to do a live. So it's pre recorded and it's posted.
I'm going to suggest that you do lives.
Okay.
And the reason I suggest that is, you know, there's no second take.
Yeah,
You know, you know, if you do pre-recordeds and you got this perfection thing going on, how many times would you record before you got
that's right.
perfect? When I
Hmm.
first started doing videos, I knew I had that perfection thing going and that I would re-record and re-record it. I knew I would do
Hmm.
that. I never did pre-records. When I started
Ah,
doing videos, I went straight to the live and I thought, you know what? If I, just like you heard me say my given name at the
yeah.
very beginning of the recording rather than what I go by. Maddox is my last name,
Oh, okay.
what I've gone by for 12 years now. And you saw me make that blooper right there and just
Hmm.
laugh about it and go right on because that's who I am.
Yeah,
That's the real Maddox. And when we polish things to the degree that people don't see the real us, they don't have anything to connect to latch on
that's
to.
right.
You know, you're a person who the people who are listening to this, not seeing it on video, haven't seen that you have choked up at least 3 or 4 times, at least teared during this video. And that's real. That's who you
Hmm.
are. And that's the you that we all want to see and get to know.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
the
we've
you that
all
connects people to your wind chimes.
Yeah,
I think that we have that experience of seeing people that are trying their best to deliver the best impression that they think people want to see. And to a certain degree, that's normal. We do that out of deference. We do it because we have immense respect for the gravity of the situation, for showing up as the right person. But I think that we've been trained to make it so that we miss out on the opportunity to let our light shine because that's
yeah.
what people really want to see.
And that ties back to becoming that person is not dimming your light. There's a lot of us in our lives that have been asked to dim our lives. And I have been told in my life many times, you're too much, Breck. And, I embrace my too muchness now. And when somebody tells me I am too much, I'm like, thank you. If you can't keep up, then scoot on over because I'm going to be too much for the rest of my life. I'm going to travel too much. I'm going to talk too much. I'm going to make too many connections. I'm going to just do it. Like, I want to be too much. I
I
don't
love that.
want to walk through life not making an impact and doing everything that I do too much with everything in my heart.
Good
You
for
know
you.
what too much is? I'm too much too. Do you know what too much is? It's a polarizer.
Mm-hmm.
It does one of two things. It either makes people scream and run in the opposite direction, or it makes them want to come and sit right next to me,
That's right.
right next to you.
I mean, the saying is true. Let your feet, if you can't let your freak flag fly, then other freaks can't find you. So,
That's
I mean,
right.
that light is like your radar going boop, 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 boop. Where's my people?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and I frequently use this analogy of it's like banging a tuning fork. And I think given the nature of what you do, you have a profound appreciation for this.
Yeah.
That sympathetic vibration is something that not only exists in that realm of just pure sound, but we see it in everything. We're looking for a signal that we can find our people, find those that we can be ourselves around and not have to feel fear that we're going to be corrected or told somehow that we're wrong.
Hmm. Or too
Judged,
much.
criticized. Yes. Yes.
Hmm. And once you get, I feel like, once you find your people and you get that feeling of safety and your authenticity and people love you for it, it's now you're when you get around people who aren't like that, you're like, oh, okay, it's not in my world, like, and then you just kind of move on, like, and you realize that the people who love you and cherish you for all your ridiculousness, and too muchness and not too muchness and all the things. I think your body and your nervous system really has a sense of calmness when you find your tribe and you find your people who love you and love you for all of you. And then your nervous system gets you away from people who don't support you like that.
Yes, yes, and yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Breck, do you have a website?
I do. It is www.love-chimes.com. So there's a dash in between love and chimes. Yep. And we are on social media. And I don't have my social media, but it is Love Chimes. I think Facebook is like Love Chimes LLC. And then Instagram is Love Chimes 528. And
So listeners
yeah.
will have access to all of this. So guys listening out there, what she said, that website is in the show notes below. There's also a link to her profile where you can see all of her profile, all of her socials,
Mhm.
and have access to that. So this has been amazing, absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing my story and having a passion and just giving the space for me to have a voice and speak my story. I really much appreciate it.
It's been our pleasure and
Mhm.
honor.
Yeah.